hearty welcome you all for this wonderful video lectures on human-computer interaction. And now we are going to discuss about memory. And myself, Shankar, Assistant Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at RMD Engineering College, Chennai. Let us see what is memory and its types. Memory is the process in which information is encoded, stored, and retrieved. There are three types of memory, or we can say there are three types of memory functions. They are sensory buffers, short-term memory, or working memory, and the last one is long-term memory. And its selection of stimuli is governed by the level of arousal, and we'll see one by one in detail. Initially, we're going to discuss about sensory memory. The sensory memories act as buffers for stimuli received through the senses. A sensory memory exists for each sensory channels. The channels are iconic memory, echoic memory, and haptic memory. The iconic memory is used for visual stimuli, and echoic memory for oral stimuli, and haptic memory for touch. Information is passed from sensory memory into short-term memory by attention, thereby filtering the stimuli to only those which are of interest at a given time. Attention is the concentration of the mind on one out of a number of competing stimuli or thoughts. If we are able to focus our attention selectively, choosing to attend to one thing rather than the other, this is due to the limited capacity of our sensory and mental process. If we did not selectively attend to the stimuli coming into our senses, we would be overloaded. We can choose which stimuli to attend to, and this choice is governed to an extent by arousal. Next type is short-term memory, and before that we'll see the examples for sensory memories are sparkler trail, stereozone, and it is continuously overwritten. The next one is short-term memory. A short-term memory or primary memory, or we can say it is active memory. So the short-term memory is the capacity for holding but not manipulating a small amount of information in mind in an active, readily available state for a short period of time. The duration of short memory is believed to be in order of seconds, and it can be accessed rapidly in the order of 70 milliseconds. It means approximate timing. These are all approximate timing access periods, right? So it's accessed rapidly in the order of 70 milliseconds, decays rapidly in order of 200 milliseconds, and its limited capacity is plus or minus 2 chunks. And rehearsal is the process where information is kept short-term memory by mentally repeating it. When the information is repeated each time, that information entered into the short memory, thus keeping the information for another 10 to 20 seconds. Chunking is the process by which one can expand his or her ability to remember things in short term. Chunking is also a process by which a person organizes material into meaningful groups. Although the average person may retain only about 4 different units in short-term memory, chunking can greatly increase a person's recall capacity. We'll see one example for this short-term memory. In recalling a phone number, the person could chunk the digits into 3 groups. First, the area code, such as a 0, 1, 2, 1, or 3-digit 1, 2, 3, or as of our Indian example, +91, and so on, or 044 or 044, and so on. That area code. Then 3-digit chunk and a last 4-digit chunk as of our mobile number 33 again 4, I think 334 and so on, right? Whatever the method. And the method of remembering phone numbers is far more effective than attempting to remember a string of 10 digits. It is the smallest part of memory because it cannot hold much information at only one time. Its size can be estimated by measuring memory span. This is the number of separate items or chunks that you can repeat back immediately without error. Most people can repeat 6 or 7 digits or letters perfectly almost every time, but few can consistently repeat more than 7. Short-term memory records information by linking new information to information already stored and available in the long-term memory. Recording is one of several active control processes that short-term memory carries out. Other active processes are included with this. They are retrieving information from long-term memory. For example, if a form asks you to write in your mother's family name, you have to retrieve it from long-term memory. Rehearsing information. For example, a simple method of memorizing something is to repeat it over and over. Selective attention for information in sensory memories. For example, until you see it's mentioned here, you probably did not notice the pressure of the chair on your body. Next one, we'll see about long-term memory. It stores factual information, experimental knowledge, procedural rules of behavior, in fact, everything that we know. It differs from short-term memory in a number of significant ways. It has a huge, if not ultimated capacity. It has a relatively slow access time of approximately a tenth of a second. Forgetting occurs more slowly in long-term memory. Long-term memory structures. We'll see next. We'll see about the long-term memory structure. There are two types of long-term memories are there. One is episodic memory, and another one is semantic memory. First, we'll see about episodic memory. Episodic memory refers to memory for specific events in a time, as well as supporting their formation and retrieval. Some examples of episodic memory would be remembering someone's names and what happened at your last interaction with each other. Episodic memory represent our memory of events and experiences in a serial form. Let us see the next one, second type, the semantic memory. It refers to knowledge about a factual information, such as the meaning of words. It is independent information, such as information remembered for a test. Semantic memory is structured in some way to allow access information, representation of relationship between pieces of information and inference. It is structured in the form of networks. Items are associated to each other in the class and may inherit attributes from parent classes. This model is known as semantic network. The knowledge about dogs may be stored in a network such as in the following diagram. It's look like this. In this structured representation or in the form of frames and scripts. Frames or the organized information in the form of slots. Scripts or organized form of information into the data structures. Next, models or models of long-term memory. It's frames. Right, so already just now we had discussed that the frames are organized the information in the form of slots and scripts. Scripts are organized information into the data structure. Next, we have slots. In these slots in these structures allows attribute values to be added. Frame slots may contain a default, fixed, or variable information. A frame is instantiated when the slots are filled with appropriate values. Frames and scripts can be linked together in networks to represent hierarchical structured knowledge that has been given in the down one about a dog and collie. So we'll see about the dog domain. The example of this models of LTM script, that is long-term memory scripts, is given here. A frame-based representation of the knowledge may look something like in the figure given in the down. The fixed slots are those for which the attribute value is set. Default slot represents the unusual attribute value, although this may be overridden in particular instantiation, and variable slots can be filled with particular values in a given instance. Slots can also contain procedural knowledge. Actions or operations can be associated with a slot and performed, for example, whenever the value of the slot is changed. Frame extends semantic nets to include structured hierarchical information. They represent knowledge item in a way which make explicit and relative importance of each pieces of information. The scripts attempt to model the representation of stereotypical knowledge about the situation. Next, we'll see about the production rules of the models of long-term memory. It's representation of procedural knowledge, and it has conditions or action rules. If the condition is matched, then the rule to determine the action. For example, here, if the dog is wagging tail, then pat back. If the dog is growling, then run away. So it has some condition. If it is matched, then we can use the rule to determine the action what we have to take in. Next, we'll see about the LTM, right? LTM memory processes. So the first one is storage of information. It actually have three main activities it related to the long-term memory. The first one is storage or remembering information. Second one is forgetting, and the third one is information retrieval. First, we'll see the storage or remembering information. Among this, the first one is rehearsal. Actually, it is information moves from STM to LTM, that is short-term memory to long-term memory. And amount learned was directly proportional to the amount of time spent learning. This is known as the total time hypothesis. The distribution of the practice effects are optimized by spreading learning over time. For example, in an experiment in which post office workers were taught to type, those whose training period was divided into weekly sessions of 1 hour performed better than those who spent 2 or 4 hours a week learning. This is called as distribution of practice effect. If information is not meaningful, it is more difficult to remember. It is more difficult to remember a set of words representing concepts than a set of words representing objects. Next, structure, meaning, and familiarity. If information is meaningful and familiar, it can be related to existing structures and more easily incorporated into memory. For example, information easier to remember. Next, we'll see about forgetting. There are two main theories are there. First one is decay, and the next one is interference. Decay suggests that the information held in long-term memory may eventually be forgotten. Next one is interference, that is the information is lost from memory through the interference. Retroactive interference, if we acquire new information, it causes the loss of old information. Next, proactive inhibition, the old memory trace break through and interference with the new information. The next one is information retrieval. There are two types of information retrievals are there. The first one is recall and the next one is recognition. Recall is the information is reproduced from the memory. And the next one is, for example, they are given categories and imagery and so on. And the next one is recognition. The presentation of information provides the knowledge that the information has been seen before. Recognition is the less complex cognitive activity since the information is provided a cue. Thank you for watching this video lecture. And the references is taken from this topic is given in the slides. Right. Once again, I thank you all for the watching this video lecture. Thank you. Thank you all.